Hello, I'm Kobold,
And I'm Bomat.
and welcome to Inventors Fair.
Haha!
Nice. I have to go into work earlier today than I usually do, so we're recording early in the morning, so my lighting might change partway through this video. What have you been playing this week?
I actually haven't played much this week, although I did retool my old Velus Bloodbroker deck, which is very fun. I love that deck. It's just big black spells. That's pretty much the whole thing. It's just a bunch of ramp. It's got a lot of treasure stuff in it, and then it plays Velus, and then I draw a bunch of cards. So it's pretty much my favorite things to do. So that's kind of what been working on this week. But I haven't had a chance to play it yet. How about you?
I got to go down and play Magic with my friends this week, and I played my Cecily and Warnock deck again twice because it's still my newest deck and I'm having a good time with it. And I played my Nethroi All Creatures deck. I made some updates to my Nethroi deck, and I'm thinking I want to get 2 more cards for it. I also need to get at least 1 more card for Cecily and Warnock. I want to get a Harmonic Prodigy for Cecily and Warnock because then I can get 2 triggers off of Cecily. It's funny though because my friend runs like 3 different Wizards decks, and Harmonic Prodigy is always like the number 1 target on his board. And so I just like feel weird putting it in one of my decks because I've never owned one before. But I also bought 3 Swiftfoot boots to put into decks because I just didn't have very many Swiftfoot boots because most of my decks are pretty budget, and Swiftfoot boots is not super expensive, but it's not one that I generally just like buy when I'm doing a deck list. And I've got a few pairs in some of my decks, but I bought one for Cecily and Warnock because Cecily is the only reason that deck works, so she needs to be protected, and it's better if I can cast her and attack with her in the same turn. That's awesome. And then I also bought one for Glissa because same thing, she's the only reason that deck works. So, and then on Arena, I haven't played a ton. I did a Brothers War quick draft, which I really enjoy every time that's on quick draft. I did not do especially well this time. I did a black-red like sacrifice deck, and I thought it was going to do really well. I started out both of my first games doing super good, and then I just burnt out and didn't stabilize, so they ran me over eventually.
Awesome. Our theme this week, it was mono red commanders. So mono red legendary creatures that you can use as the commander of your deck. So you want to go ahead and get us started on that?
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to do something with... I was playing against my friend's Lelia, the Blade Reforged deck, which cares about exiling cards. So I wanted to do something with that, but I also really like Young Pyromancer, some of like the token generators and stuff. So I have this creature with no name, casting cost, or types yet, just an ability. It says that whenever you exile the first card from the top of your library each turn, you can create a 3/1 elemental creature token with trample and haste. Second ability is, if you control 5 or more elemental cards, cards you cast from exile cost red less to cast.
Okay, read the first ability to me again.
Whenever you exile the first card from the top of your library each turn, you can create a 3/1 elemental creature token.
And then the other one gives you a benefit for having lots of elementals.
Yeah. I was thinking about like making those tokens attack each turn so it's harder to keep them around.
I don't know that that's necessary if they're 3/1s. I think 3/1s are pretty easy to remove.
Yeah.
As a general rule. It is a pretty good benefit, but I think that it's not crazy, especially since your commander isn't actually exiling any cards off the top of your library. You have to have other things to make it work. So.
Yeah, and I did think about that because I was like thinking about like it's scaling for the number of cards you had exiled or the number of elementals you had, and I was like, well, you can abuse that pretty quickly, especially casting red spells for cheap is always very abusable. So in this case, you can cast a lot of cantrips, but again... Yeah, I guess the problem is that you're going to be casting things that exile things out of the top of your library and then casting more things every time, and they're going to be cheap.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as the new Urabrask or like Bergi and the Horn, where you end up having the ability to do a lot with it because of the nature of it. I think discounting all exiled spells. I'm not sure. I guess you could just have it produce a red mana then, but then
Yeah, but to me,
sorry,
producing
this
red
is
mana
more
feels more abusable. Having seen
yeah.
Bergia and
This
Urabrask.
is this is more of a semantic thing. It might be that it produces a red mana that you can only use to cast exile spells,
Uh-huh.
spells out of exile. It just feels like discounting things is a weird way for red to help you cast spells, but also like at that point you're basically doing the same thing, but you can't use it on more than one. So
Yeah,
I
but
think that does balance it.
how do you phrase that? Is
Yeah,
that when you have 5 elementals, you just have an extra red mana, or is it like
yeah, yeah.
if you attack with 5 or more elementals, you create 1 extra red mana, or is it like?
I think that's fine.
But I mean, you're right
Um,
though. Like, it's not super normal for red to discount stuff. Usually, if you're like the Flamekins, they tap for mana that you use to cast elementals. It's not like they make your elementals cost less.
mhm. But you are doing something very red, and it's only affecting things that are in exile. So I think that that's fair enough. I think just affecting Impulse Draw is fine. Like I think that that is a reasonable way to do it.
I was thinking that like part of why I like it is because it doesn't scale out with your elementals. You don't keep making elementals as you start storming off, right? And
Hmm.
yeah, you don't increase your elemental count when you're having a crazy good turn. And if somebody has the ability to like get rid of one of your elementals partway through that, like you're just done with that. You can't keep. I don't know. It's not
Yeah.
like you're banking up extra mana. You're not like it does still feel pretty good, especially because red has a lot of really cheap cards.
Yeah, but I think it's not broken, and the amount of repeatable exile off the top of your library, other than things like Berkey's Horn, is not crazy high. Like it
Yeah.
isn't. There isn't a ton of spells that will just continuously exile things off the top. There's a couple, like the red Facebreaker card, where you can sacrifice treasures to exile things off the top
Yeah,
of your
that's true.
library.
Yeah.
But I think all of that is within the realms of that's a good combo, not oh that makes it unplayably broken. Like I think that's fine.
And you can build
Um,
an elemental tribal if you want, and you can cast elementals for slightly cheaper.
um, I think there's a possibility then that this is like a big elemental. It's like a big beefy elemental. It's a fire or like lava elemental, and then
Yeah.
it summoning or like spewing forth like other elementals, and that's kind of how it is.
Yeah, like the soul of Valakut or something.
Yeah, yeah. Except for if it was the Soul of Valakut, it'd definitely be dealing 3 damage to something.
Yeah.
Um,
It is. It's making little elementals that have free power. Um,
uh,
Originally, I was thinking of this being like Velduke's Squire was originally the
mhm.
idea. But I do agree that I think making it big is like a good option. I wasn't gonna have it be an elemental because then it's like then
It
if you
counts
can
towards
play
itself.
it and then you make one if you can exile a card on everybody's turn, then by the time it gets back to your turn you have 5. But if it costs a lot of mana, I think I'd be happy with having it be an elemental, making little
Yeah.
smaller elementals. Elemental cost maybe think like 4 red, or what are you thinking like for this like kind of an ability, maybe like a 5/5 elemental?
Um,
What does Omnath look like?
the green red Omnath is 7, and that creates 5/5s whenever
Yeah.
landfall. So that's pretty powerful, but it doesn't give you discounts off of your spells. I think 6 mana is probably about right, and making it like a 5/5 is good. Or you could do it like a 7/5 and make it more offensive,
Yeah.
because plus that means that you 3 hits with it uncontested, and you can kill somebody with commander damage. So that's fun.
Yeah, I think I'll leave 5/5. Cool. Can you think of like a plane or a name that would go well with this? Zendikar obviously comes to mind for elementals. A roiling eruption.
Yeah, Roiling Eruption's good, and that definitely places it right on Zendikar. As far as like a proper name, it's a big ball of fire. I don't
I was just thinking, I was like,
know.
right now I've got Ziltar the roiling eruption.
That
I
works
was just trying to think of like the naming conventions from
from
Zendikar.
Zendikar. I was trying to do the same thing, but a lot of them are different depending, and I'm trying to think if any of the elementals. There is a couple from Zendikar that have names, but like Omnath and
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the big pig. And also the tree, the red and green one from Zendikar Rising.
Oh, I was gonna say Phylath is the elemental you're thinking
Phylath,
of.
yeah. Yes, the World Sculptor or whatever.
Yes, Phylath, Sculptor.
Yeah, because I think I pulled Phylath in my Zendikar Rising pre-release, which was the first live event I ever went to, and you also went to that with me.
I also went to that one, yeah.
That was cool. I'm going to the Murders at Karlov Manor this weekend.
Oh, sick. I'm really excited for that, actually.
Yeah?
I haven't been this excited about a set for a while. I really am looking forward to Murders at Karlov Manor.
Nice.
Mine, I've named her Vimy. Vimy, Thrilled Opportunist. Can you guess what this is in reference to?
Is it the Thrill of Possibility? Yeah.
That is correct. It is a card in reference to Thrill of Possibility. Yes. Thrill of Possibility is a card for 1 in a red. It's an instant that lets you discard a card, and when you do, you draw 2 cards.
It has a great collection of artworks across its various printings.
Especially the one from Eldraine.
Yeah.
I really like that one. The Secret Lair, not the Secret Lair, the Mystic Archive one is also very good. For Thrill of Possibility. So Vimy is human wizard for 2 in a red. Probably like here's the thing. Power toughness, I'm not sure of. I'll give you the abilities and then you can help me inform power toughness. So when Vimy enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. So it's not a cost to casting her, but it is because she wants to be on the battlefield when you discard things. So so that's why it's an enter the battlefield trigger instead of an additional cost to cast. And whenever you discard 1 or more cards, you can do. Here's another thing I have a question about, which is scaling, because I want it to be 2 damage to things, but I don't want it. Is 2 damage too much?
If you're discarding cards?
And it's not. It doesn't count all of the cards you discarded. It only counts. Did you discard
each trigger of discarding?
Yeah. So if you discard 7 cards, if you discard 3 cards, it all just does 2 damage. But each instance of it does that. So that is fairly powerful, but not.
It's fairly powerful, but what are you doing the damage to?
That is the other thing, because I want it to be anything, but that feels.
Any
also
target,
too much.
But not each opponent
target.
or anything, right?
Yeah, just any target.
So any target, I think you might be able to make that work. I just played against my friend's Brawlin and Shabraz deck, which is all about cycling, like drawing, discarding, dealing damage. And Brawlin deals 1 damage to each opponent for every card you discard, and that's insane. It's like too much. This being 1 or more cards, dealing 2 damage to any single target, might be able to get away with that. It is easy to clear a board like that, right? Because all you have to do is cast 2 of the cantrips that you discard and draw. I guess not cantrips, whatever, but like the Thrill of Possibilities, all you have to do is cast 2 of those and you're dealing 4 damage to somebody's creature. But you are spending 2 cards to do that, or actually 4 cards to do that, because you have to spend the card, discard a card, draw the card, draw the card. So I think there are worse cards that have been printed that are much worse than this. I wonder. So those are the only 2 abilities on the card.
Yeah. So the other way to do this is because I was thinking. I also like the idea of making treasures when you discard cards. Instead. But that also feels like it could be too much. So we could do the thing that is what everybody says that they should do on the most powerful cards and then complains when they do on the less powerful cards, which is this only happens once a turn.
The damage would feel pretty bad if it was once per turn, because like Thran Executioner Thane, like the first time that a creature dies in turn, everybody loses 2 life, and nobody likes that card.
Yeah, and then the rest of the time, it's so bad.
It's like, oh, this looks great in Aristocrats, and then it's just like not that good. Though I will say, my buddy, he's got a Zimone and Dina deck. Thran does put in work in that deck because like the triggers scale a lot, but I've never put in one of my many Aristocrat decks. But I wonder if, hear me out, if you can, the first time that you discard 1 or more cards each turn, you deal 2 damage to any target. The second time, you create a treasure token.
Okay.
Or maybe...
So you're getting
Rumor
getting
Gatherer,
value, but it's not infinite value.
But then you could do it on everybody's turns, because discarding stuff you can do on other people's turns usually.
Yeah, so it could be like a 3-step one, because I like those cards. So like the 4-color Omnath, only not as busted as the 4-color Omnath. Maybe it does this. The first time you exile another card off the top of your library, so you get extra value. You get another card, essentially. Or you do damage, you make a treasure, and then you exile another card. But you could do all 3 of those things just in a different order.
Do you want it to just be card draw, though, instead? Because exiling doesn't really help the cause of discarding more cards. You can't discard a card that's exiled. 1 additional card is not outside of red and doesn't feel... If that's your 3rd trigger...
Draw an additional card. I think that's fine. Yeah, I think...
If you want to exile, I'm not here to take away your design.
No, I just like earlier, instinctively have a very particular idea of what red does, and I need to not be so rigidly adherent to it, especially when I'm doing something that is very red. I think that makes sense. So then it would be damage, treasure, extra card. I think would be the.
Then it's only well, yeah. So how do you feel? Because then the damage is repeatable. You can do it on other people's turns. But if you're going for a being able to continuously deal damage, that really stops it. It does keep adding value to you.
That really does.
But it does really stop the damage, is the problem there. You could have it be that, 1, if it's triggered 1 time, you deal 2 damage. If it's triggered 2 times, you treasure. If it's dealt 3 times, you get a card. If it's did 4 or more times, each additional one is damage. It just turns back around.
Or let's do this instead. Let's cut a bunch of this.
Yeah.
And
we were starting to add a pretty long list of abilities on this card.
Whenever you discard a card, it deals 1 damage. If this triggers 3 or more times, I'm trying to think of what the number would be. Then it starts doing 3 damage instead. So it scales the damage, but it doesn't change what the card is doing.
I think I like that more than having the different abilities, because then it's still rewarding you for the more cards you can discard, but it's 1 damage. Then you get to deal more damage. Yeah. I still think at some point you start killing the whole board once you get into the right rhythm. But I think that's harder to get to, for sure.
I think it's a harder thing to overcome at that point. So, and other people will definitely know what you're doing, and so they'll be able to do something about it in most cases.
Plus, you have to have cards to discard, which, admittedly, with Thrill of Possibility, you are trying to discard a card, get value, but you don't have blue in this commander, so you're not playing. What is the name of your cycling commander? Rael, the Everwise. Yeah. You're not discarding 7 cards to draw 14 cards. I like that it scales depending on how many you have discarded.
It could just be a discard storm commander, and so every card does more damage, and it just goes up. It starts. I would probably have to add more mana cost to this to do that. But the first card does 1 damage, then 2. Then 3, then 4, then 5, and so as you're discarding cards, you're just.
But if it is only the 1 target,
discarding cards.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it's only 1 target and it's every instance, you might be able to pull that one off, because then you have to every time you're committing cards to it and mana. It's hard, not impossible. It's hard to discard cards for free in red. In black, you can do it. You can discard. There's free discard outlets everywhere in black, but in red, you're not discarding for free very often. Now, this card could get pretty wild if you partner it. If it's in the 99 of a blue
if it's
or
in
a red,
any other color,
black,
it starts being a bit of an issue.
It would be wild in my Chain or Nightmare Adept deck.
But again, your Chainer deck always runs out of cards.
Absolutely, absolutely, always runs out of cards. I've got it's a little better than the last time you played against it. I have added more card draw, but I haven't played it in months. Yeah. So
all right, let's call it. So it does 1 damage, and then if it's the 3rd time, it does 3 damage, and then it just keeps doing 3 damage. So anything past that does 3 damage. I think.
So your first 2 are 1, and then everything after that is 3.
So I think 2 in a red is still fine for
Yeah, I think
that.
2 in a red
and
is
so
okay.
when it enters the battlefield, discard a card and draw 2 cards so that it can see you doing it. So it does 1 damage just on entering the battlefield. And then you go from there. And whenever you discard 1 or more cards, so it's each instance of discard, it does 1 damage. The 3rd time or more that it's triggered, I'll figure out how to write that out.
Yeah,
but essentially, it does 3 damage to any target.
Nice. I think you might need to say, when it enters the battlefield, discard card if you do draw 2 cards, because if you have no cards in your hand, it doesn't sacrifice your commander or anything, but then you just need you just need to have the stipulation that you can't just get free cards. Nice. Do you have a power and toughness you're thinking of?
So firstly, I was thinking I might change it to 1 red instead. Try to make it a little more red specific, because it is a powerful thing when paired with other. Double red isn't hugely prohibitive in most decks that are going to want to run it, but still. Probably, I think a 2/3 is what I have in my brain, but it's a wizard, so it could be like a 1/3 instead. I think my last commander was a 1/3. I guess I just like 1/3s.
2/3 fine. Helps it survive a little. Again, throw a Harmonic Prodigy in there. Start doubling up the damage.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jimmy,
so
thrilled opportunist.
I couldn't think of possibilityist. I couldn't find a way to put that wouldn't be incredibly dumb sounding, so...
I'd love to do little sketches of your character.
Nice.
She's got lovely hair.
She does have lovely hair. You know who else has lovely hair? I'm very proud of Tuki's hair. Actually, my left
it's pretty good hair. Sweet. Nice. Well, I think those are pretty fun, and I'm looking forward to editing this together. And sweet, cool. Well, then we will look at what we're doing next week. If anybody has requests, like the call time was a request from a comment, so we can sometimes pull from our comments and see what we're going to design that way. And I don't know at this point when this episode goes out, who knows if we will have hit 500 subscribers on the YouTube channel yet, but technically that giveaway is still going from when we upload the first episode, so we will update you on that as well. Did you know that most mammals take 21 seconds to empty their bladder?
I did know that, but
You
only
did?
because I probably saw the same thing online that you did.
Oh, I didn't see it. One of my playgroup told me that when we were playing the other night. And then I had to pee while we were playing, and I went in and I counted, and I was shocked. Even if it only works for humans, it's a great party trick. Not that, never mind. I shouldn't have said that. Everybody
We're
watch
gonna cut
this. Okay, anyway, go ahead.